Today I'm going to be reviewing this devotional from Crossway. This is called The Biggest Story Family Devotional. It is a cloth overboard hardcover book. And just a little more information about it. It says the Bible is a big book about God's love for you. Each page tells how he created the world, acted in history, and continues to act in the present. These 104 kid-friendly devotions give your family hundreds of simple, fun ways to experience God's story together. Each devotion has tons of activities to complete whenever you choose. So there are 5 individual Bible readings, brief big picture introduction, memorable gospel connection summary, a link to an animated video retelling, a short prayer, family discussion questions, and space for notes. All right, so let's take a look in here. Very beautiful and colorful. Okay, so you're going to get at the beginning some introductions of ways to use the devotional. There's part 1, the Pentateuch, Genesis through Deuteronomy. And then it goes through part 2, history. So it's going to go through the whole Bible. The history is Joshua through Esther. The part 3 is poetry, Job through Song of Solomon. We have part 4, the prophets, Isaiah through Malachi. And then we get into the Gospels, Matthew through John, and Acts and the epistles, Acts through Jude, and then finally Revelation. So I really like that it takes you through the whole Bible because reading through the whole Bible with a child can be a little challenging because there's just parts of the Bible that are harder to read and understand for all of us, but especially for a younger audience. So I think this is really helpful because it does take you through the whole Bible, and it's something you can do together as a family as well. You're not just handing it to your child and saying, here, go read this, but you're doing it together and learning together. And there's some interactive parts to this as well that I really like. So we're going to have an introduction. We're going to have ways to use this devotional. And then this is story 1 called And So It Begins. It's Genesis 1 through 2. And then it gives you the big picture, like just a little summary. And then it gives you a QR code here. So you can scan the QR code with your device. You watch story 1 together. So you can watch a little video with your child and family that goes over this scripture. And then reading 1 is Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 and 2. And then it's going to give you some reflection questions. So the first one here, for example, is have you ever thought about the fact that God has no beginning? What questions do you have about that? So it's also kind of an open question and fosters some discussion between you and your child and family members. So it's going to go through reading 2 is Genesis 1, 3 through 23. There's another question, reading 3, reading 4, reading 5. So it takes you through that Genesis chapter 1 through 2 in 5 days. So you could do that in a week. Maybe have a break day on like Saturday and then Sunday, be of course your day of worship in church, but you can break it up however you want. And then story 2 is A Very Bad Day, Genesis 3. Again, it's going to follow the same format for each story. You're going to get the big picture summary. Or give you some background information as well. You're going to get that QR code to watch the animated story together. And then you're going to have 5 days of that scripture being split up into 5 readings and a discussion or reflection question for each day. And I forgot to mention the last one. At the end of the 5 readings, there's also a gospel connection, and then there's a prayer. So I love the color in this. I love that they're connecting everything to the gospel. I've said this many times before, but I think it's so important to understand how the whole Bible connects as a whole and not just disjointed stories with good moral lessons throughout, but it all goes together into one big story, and it all surrounds Jesus and all involves Jesus. So it's so important, and I'm glad to see that in here as well, so you can be teaching your child and family all about that as well. So I won't go through, this is a big, heavy book, but because it goes through the whole Bible, so that makes sense. And I don't think it's every single, obviously, verse and chapter in the Bible. You're not going to read the entire Bible, but it gives you an overview to do with your child. Yeah, and I was just looking here. Sometimes, this one is Mark 3. It even throws in a reading from Revelation that goes along with that. So that's really cool that they do that on some of these as well. And if you were doing each one of these in a week, it is going to take you longer than a year because I think, how many weeks are there here? Sorry, should have checked that before I think it's 104, I think I heard it. Yeah, 104 stories. So that would take you like 2 years if you were going to go through one a week. But you could do more. You could do one per day and just keep going and not skip the 2 days of the week. Or you can give yourself those grace days on the weekends or however you want to do it. But at the end of the devotional, then there is some lined paper. It gives you, I think, a list of contributors. Yeah, it gives you the list of contributors right here. And then you're going to get to the end. So I think this is a really great devotional to use with your family. And I would highly recommend this devotional, The Biggest Story from Crossway.